Today, it's one of the things that we heard pretty much most of the last 2 days is how does digital disruption really happen? But the question is also how does the GBS leadership drive that decision making and handle this digital disruption, right, over the coming years? And as we were speaking, one thing that came out was GBS is not a homogeneous structure across different organizations. Why? Organizations are different, completely different. Their priorities are very, very different. Their stages in the industries are very different. And today, to discuss this, I have a panel, very, very diverse in terms of where they come from. Extremely diverse from the nature of organizations they represent and the industries and their own challenges, right? It's an honor for me to welcome, from my right, Patrick. Patrick is the Vice President and Head of GBS for Liquide. Interestingly, an industry that's looking at the future of energy and the entire energy transition with green hydrogen, right? A very, very different set of challenges and what to go with. I have Florence, Head of GBS for Merck, pharma company. I'm going to dare say with a lot of money, obviously, right? And a very different objective and what needs to come out of GBS. I have Priyambhu, who's the CEO of the GBS organization at ArcelorMittal, an organization working in an industry with extremely thin margins. Right, dare say, sometimes in some years, maybe a margin at all. So obviously a very different expectation from what GBS needs to deliver, right? And on my right extreme, I have Sebastian Frey, who's the Managing Director of GBS at Kärcher, working extremely strong, obviously, in the European market, looking at a very, very different set of business and consumer customers. And how do you look at GBS in that kind of an era? Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Right. What I wanted to actually start with is, we are at a stage where, for most organizations today, you have support, both from the leadership and from external, in terms of what we need to drive from, be it Gen AI, digital, in terms of the direction itself. But would love to ask you, each one of you, in terms of how do you look at that decision making and that mandate and what GBS needs to deliver? Patrick?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me here. I think it's very important, as you mentioned, to remind the objective of the company that we're running for. So, as you mentioned, today in Air Liquide, the important thing, and I would say the superior description that we have to deal with is clearly the energy transition. We are at the center of that. We consider that we are clearly the champion of climate change solution. We say that not everybody is talking about this. Everybody is talking about hydrogen. But I want to tell you that this is something that is part of the vision of Air Liquide for 20, 25 years. So to illustrate that, I would say that the CEO, the chairman of Air Liquide, Mr. Poche, was 15 years ago launching the famous Hydrogen Council. There are 12 people on the table. Now there are more than 300 people on this. So the objective of Air Liquide is to deal with this energy transition, which is, as you know, at stake for every of us. So when it comes to GBS, what we need to do, and as a GBS leader, what I need to do is support this vision and ensure that all the GBS team will have understood this is what we want to achieve. Basically, we want to have our operation being able to be more focused on two things: customer centricity and industrial excellence. Everything which is, I would say, making it happen in terms of back office, in terms of efficiency, in terms of leveraging digital to make this happen and to deliver superior performance or dealing with these challenges is something that I would say that the GBS leaders and a number of other people like the CIO need to orchestrate.
Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't hear the word cost at all in this, but extremely interesting to see how it's aligned to business. Flo, your take?
So we talk about what kind of role or what kind of responsibility we have in GBS organization in a bigger perspective in a total company. But different company, as you mentioned earlier, is very different. Like in our company, in Merck, we do have a technology unit really looking for all these capability platform like Gen AI, digitalization, data analytics, etc. But they are not going to tell you what to do. They're going to enable, provide this platform. So in that case, I think, depending, of course, also your GBS maturity. If you are a startup GBS organization that you're already dreaming that you are going to lead the disruptive technology, bring in or a different way of working, and that could be maybe a bit too early. But if you're already in more mature, that you can participate differently, or also depending on your operating model. If you're in an integrated, I'm not sure the audience is familiar with a different operating model. You can have landlord model, you can have an execution model or delivery model, or you can have an integrated model that means you own the strategy, you own the policy, you own the process. So if you're in that sense, and then you also have the right capability and also the maturity overall, and you can play a very key role, like in those sense, like when Merck, you have the Gen AI, all these cool technology, then we could be one of the key contributor to basically take it up as playing a pioneer role to show an collaborative power to make something happen. And because we do have usually a big organization have every single touch point, not only on the technology perspective, but also really reaching out to each of the employees. We can play a very critical, essential role to also influence the mindset and culture of the people we are having interaction with. I thought we can change the perspective, not only about the initiative itself, but also the influence we can help. And I think that's pretty cool, we can contribute.
Interesting to hear that word influence along with leadership. Thanks, Flo. Priyambhu, you come from a very, very different industry, right? Would love to hear views.
So at ArcelorMittal, we are a steel and mining company. As everyone knows, we produce steel. Our mandate at the first instance is to be sustainable. So if you ask the group, what are you doing with the digital transformation or AI, they will first say, I have to first decarbonize the steel. We have to change the technology in the next 5 years, and then we need to become carbon neutral by 2050. So there is a different mandate and different idea altogether. So how do you survive in this organization, which is an organization facing decarbonization and environment, social governance mandates? And then the other thing is that also very characteristic of our organization is that we are a federated group of companies. So everyone has to earn the right to grow and do whatever they want to do. So as a GBS leader, I have to earn the right to grow and digitalize. And I have to push and I had to get a pull from the organization. So what kind of leadership initiative we have taken in the past 5 years? First, positioning GBS as a transformation leader. So we are the finance leader in transformation leader. So the head of transformation reports to me, not to the CFO. So I report to the CFO, but at the end, we are the one who are driving the GBS, the whole finance transformation. The second thing is also integration with IT. And day before yesterday, I brought in CIOs. The reason is that if we are talking about digital transformation and AI, we have to bring the CIOs on board. So we are also integrated with IT as a delivery partner. We have the right to choose which technology partners we will choose across the booths, which we have seen. Then third, it's very important to take pilots on different items like AI. We are doing service desk transformation as well. So we are using AI, partnering with Microsoft and other companies like yours.
Thanks, Priyambhu. If I look at this business, Sebastian, it's a 100% family-owned organization, well-known brand in Europe. How do you look at GBS, and how do you, look at decision-making in the digital era?
I would like to also go in a direction of to give a bridge to sport. I'm at Kärcher. We are based in Stuttgart, and in Germany we are very passionate about football. And in Stuttgart we also have a football team playing more or less in the first league, and for several years they are really suffering. They even go to the second league, go up, manage to even by sharpening the edge going in the first league once again, and suddenly this year they are on the top 3. And everybody was really surprised, what is happening with this club? And looking to the intel of this club, for sure we have a new coach, because in football business you get fired immediately if you are not delivering results. But this coach is coming from the second team of Munich, also named Sebastian. Maybe this is a part of the secret. But when coming in, this guy, there was a totally transformation starting. And the transformation start with picking the right people. And it was for sure some talents, which is obviously needed in football and skills. But for me, what is really measured is it was about attitude. When we hire people, I'm strong believing that we are hiring attitude, not skills. Skills we have to build up. Even in AI, we do not know what kind of capability we are needing in future and skills. So it is really important to have this attitude. Secondly, this guy has a clear vision. He said, okay, we want not to be the number 1, but at least our target is to be number 5. And now let's transport this, make communication, make transparency to the whole team, not to the players. There's a lot of people working in the background for that one. And the third element, what I see is that he has a team. It's a leadership team. I always consider myself not, I am a Kärcher Global Service guy. I have a Kärcher Global Service leadership team. And if we have weak leadership team, we will not succeed.
Wow. It's, as I look at this, I see driving an alignment to innovation, alignment to the future goals, alignment to what we need to do, and obviously thinking about leadership, and that's a good segue to flow. As you look at the evolving journeys, right, especially in the digital era, what are the roles that are actually evolving? Because to make this successful, and to Sebastian's point, it's also about leadership from his perspective. But would love to hear your views on how we need to look at roles in GBS as we get into the digital era.
Maybe instead of we talk about the roles, let's talk about the capability.
Brilliant.
Maybe that's more relevant to the audience. So very practical. If you ask people about digital or automation or digital particularly, ask 20 people will give you different definition in general. So if you look at your organization, generally in a GBS organization, then you have a majority, 80% is your operational level. So this operational level has the front end, interface with the end-to-end operations. So those are the level you need to look at, basically to awareness about what is about digital. What does that really mean? You need to quantify it. You need to make people understand, because digital is a word, it's not necessary everybody have the one common understanding. In my humble opinion, is about data analytic, data-driven decisions, and also, of course, it's a combination of different technology to make things easier. And it's not necessarily sequential anymore. It could be integrated. Like if you call the Industry 4.0, that 2014 is no longer on sequential process, because the technology allowing you to look at the process completely on an integrated sense. So that is the power. But you cannot expect that suddenly the person who doing the AP and collection suddenly get this idea. So building this awareness is important. Then the second is, which is I call is very important, is those we call knowledge expert. So they are having a strong domain knowledge, but they may not understand what does that mean by technology. So those we talk about critical thinking, what is the application understanding, what is that mean by technology and domain knowledge, how we can apply. Because we got overflowing all this kind of different technology, it's quite heavy for those. Then the last but not the least, you do have a technical knowledge, very specific technical knowledge. It's not like you can train me to be a data scientist, so hopefully I could, but I don't think I have the bandwidth or the intellectual capacity to do that. So then you need to then look at, okay, what are very specific area that you need to bring in? I think in the combination of that, then you can bring and define the structural approach, then you can define real capability development, enable that to happen.
Patrick, any thoughts on that?
No, I think that when you are in a situation where a company which is dealing with such a disruption, I'm not talking about only the digital disruption, I'm also talking about the energy transition disruption. You need to be sure that you will have people beyond the operation that will be able to think having a much longer term vision and support them to say, okay, this is the type of benefit that you can get from digital, and to be sure that you will be able to put the spot on that and to allow them to understand how they can leverage that. This is the first thing. The second thing is clearly, I have been CIO in my past life. I used to say to the CIO of Air Liquide today, you don't imagine how lucky you are, because I was dreaming about being a business enabler and I have a lot of people in front of me. Now you have a GBS team in front of you, which is very strong and allow you to really enforce that. So together, working together, having the vision, sharing the vision, and pushing the vision, it's absolutely something key, and we are able to do that and to achieve this. So,
Sebastian, any thoughts? I know you mentioned leadership is critical, and any thoughts in terms of?
I also think that we as a leader should be a role model. So what I very often see where the organization is struggling, if we are not being a role model in any case, it doesn't depends on technology or if we are driving efficiency. If I would go, for example, in the most expensive hotel on a business trip, for sure my people will ask, he's always demanding efficiency, but he is not be the role model. So if we are talk about changing the organization, we also have to consider ourselves, the leadership team, as a role model. Use the digital tools and ourselves. I always testing if we launch new product by myself. I'm the first one of the first users. And this kind of mindset, being a role model within the organization, I think that's crucial for leadership.
No, it's interesting. I think to talk about vision and, in some sense, people to drive the vision and talking about leadership and showing it by yourself, adoption of that, I think fantastic. Priyambhu, once you identify all of these capabilities and you mention how your organization is going about doing it, how do you think about the effective approach itself to drive that digital disruption? Right? What kind of a mandate, right? And what is it that you require to be able to drive that direction of digital in the organization?
So I would say that ArcelorMittal Group is such a big group that one size, one approach fits all will never work out.
I know you mentioned huge number of entities.
Yes, over 300
300
entities. This is after the company reduction plan we had. So still we are in that situation where in ArcelorMittal Group we have around 260 entities.
Wow.
And
then 260 CEOs?
Then there are joint ventures, then there are affiliates. These are other entities as well.
Wow. Okay.
So it's massive. So one size doesn't fit all very clearly. And so how do you introduce digital transformation, AI? There has to be a push and pull approach. When you talk about push, you have to partner with your tech partners like Infosys, Microsoft, and all these nice companies who are providing these services to us. So we need to partner with them and to bring this on the floor as an implementation. Because a lot of times people do not know what objective they want to achieve with AI, with other technology. So we need to also have a push. Then we have to have a pull. And there we always talk about to have a right governance between business, IT, and GBS. So we need to have this, and we have this. So the problem statements, whether there is a problem statement, it comes to one set of team, and from there we pick it up and we decide whether we have to go in-house or go to the market. The second thing is what we are trying to do is to integrate with and partner with technical universities as well. It is very important that we start to build our in-house capability on some of the areas where we are not dependent on the third-party suppliers. This is another thing which we are doing. And in my view, what the colleagues have said, Flo and Sebastian have said about skills, how do you go towards the next generation of services, whether it is record to report, whether it is procure to pay, whether it is HR. How do you go and upskill your talent? And this is one of the things which we are going to drive right now, is to have not a single year program, but a 3-year program where we really go and select what digital skills we need. And I invite any of the consultant and any of the partners, whosoever wants to help us. I'm very much interested to see how we are going to train our people. So this is what I would say important.
Flo, any thoughts on that?
I think we talk very similar, right? It's, we talk about digital evolution, if I can use that word. And then I think it's first come with, are we open-minded enough to accept the fact that what make us here, not getting us there? I think it's very deep philosophy if you think it through. Because we all, like as a leader, also our leaders in our team, we all make our career in a certain level. And suddenly you said, hey, it's different. It's no longer you need to type an email. You can actually have a co-pilot to do something for you. And it's no longer sequential process. You can actually have an integrated process. And even, I think it's JTI or NTT mentioned earlier that it's no longer we talk about standardization of process because the technology allow. So then ourselves also trigger a very radical thinking and critical thinking, challenging what make us success in the past. Does it make sense in the future? I think these all come together, become quite a unique capability or skill set that we also as a leaders and also enable our leaders next level and also the team to embrace. I think this is the most difficult part because you can learn all these technology. I remember one time when I lead a business and I learned how to write a program on apps. I learned to write apps. It was fundamental at my age. I need to learn these kind of things. But I found it cool. But then you start with yourself, you start to embrace a new technology. I think this is what I personally think. If you want to play a key role in a company, we, not just us, but also our organization, we need to enable that to happen. And we need to be super open-minded and challenge ourselves every single day.
Any thoughts, Patrick, Sebastian, on this?
No, I basically agree. I think that we are again at the center of many different challenges. It's about culture, it's about people, it's about educating, combining, and so on. So the recipe is to find a way to get this together and to be sure that at the end you will be able to deliver the vision that the organization wants to achieve. And this is something that you need permanently to keep in mind and to be sure that your people really keep in mind and to be sure that we are going in the same direction. So it's clear that the digital disruption that we see here, it's clear it's something that will change the game internally for the GBS, but also with the operation.
Staying with you, Patrick, one of the challenges that we see in most discourse that you see about digital disruption is pretty quickly it shifts to the tool, right? Be it a chat GPT or it used to be RPA in the old days, right? And it quickly becomes a tool conversation rather than an objective conversation, right? And as we go through this digital journey, there are going to be outcomes that are not always positive, right? You could have failures, right? You could have completely different areas. Would love to actually hear your view on both objective side and how do you look at culture and that change in culture if you have to accept failure?
This is clearly a key and big challenge, in particular in a company like Air Liquide. 120 plus years, I used to say it's a whole lady that managed to remain young thanks to innovation and putting people at the center of whatever we do. But we do consider that initiative is key and being sure that the people will not be focusing on tool with IT solution, but aiming at delivering the bigger vision. It's something which is absolutely key. So for me, we used to say that GBS is about what? It's about best in class, it's about people, process, and tool. But I would say that it's a lot about people. So the question is, for me, in this new era, how do you ensure that you put this at the center of our strategy? That means that we in Liquide, we do believe in soft skill more than hard skill. So we consider that you can be able to do many jobs. So I've been CPO, CIO, blah, blah, blah. But what is key is the soft skill. So how do you manage your workforce to ensure that they will be able to deal with this? We discussed a lot this week about potentially fast fail, and I really love this. But is it really part of our culture today? I'm not so sure. Where we have been able to say many years to our teams, you need to deliver on time, on budget, with the quality expected. And we, considering that failure is part of the game, it's very key that we manage this and we make this change, this step change. And I think this is a big challenge for us and for our team to be sure that this will be part of the culture. But you need to be able to know also exactly when it is a failure. That means that you need to stop and move to something else. And be able to have this culture and adopt this culture inside the organization and also communicate outside the organization of the operation. For me, it's a big challenge that as a leader, as GBS leader, we need to be able to cope with.
Sebastian, in a very different kind of an organization, how do you look at it?
I think the France values and the Germans are quite equal. So failure is not a big topic. What you be very transparent, and I think that have to change. So for me, it's also about expectation management. So if I openly share transparent, this project is a discovery project. So there could be a failure, and being transparent with the lessons learned. And in Germany, our culture is when we talk about piloting, it is always the first in a row. And this is not a pilot. A pilot is really taking the time and saying, okay, what we have discovered, what we have learned. And I'm a strong believer, out of errors, you learn much more than it always go quickly through very smoothly, because the lessons learned is not there. And establishing this culture, showing, okay, this is a discovery case, and also being transparent up to the level of the employee, saying, it's okay if you discover, if you help yourself. And what I learned rolling out RPA in our organization, only GBS was not capable to do so. We need joint forces out of the IT for sure, but also out of the business, out of our subsidiaries. Kärcher, even being a small company with 3.5 billion turnover, we have 160 subsidiaries. So involving that in our evolution, in our journey, that is a major part of stakeholder communication.
Flo, any thoughts on this? You've managed across different cultures, across different areas.
I think first it's what do we want to achieve right at the end? Because we talk about digital, we talk about evolution, we talk about technology. I mean, by itself, it mean nothing. I mean, it's going back to what do we want to achieve for the business, for the company. So if you are able to set the scene in that sense, and then you're trying to enable or motivate the organization with this mindset to achieve that, because you can't create a very nice vision for the organization to understand what they can individually and collectively, doesn't have to be in GBS, it could be a collective power to achieve where we want to aim for. And that's beautiful. And if you are able to create that picture, and for the employees, they are in. They will be in. And then, of course, you need to have all these kind of ecosystem to encourage this, all folks, right? And I like the idea we talk about fail fast. Nowadays, technology is so fast. And if you're trying to do everything in a full, like a waterfall approach, it's not going to happen. And I think a lot of times also with the Gen Z, we have a lot of new generation, younger generations, and they think very differently. I'm sorry to admit the age generation between me and the team. So we need to also learn how to think along with them, what motivates them. And then this experimental thing, it's cool for them. We cannot say, oh, it's fantastic, it's cool. So then embrace them. So it's even fail. We celebrate the failure and celebrate the learnings, and we move on and try another. Because the creating that experimental open mindset, it's really the crucial, and making sure that it linking back to the business outcome and reward them in a certain way.
Any quick thoughts on this, Priyambhu, before I get into a slightly more tricky last part?
I think from ArcelorMittal perspective and what I see for us, cost savings are key. So how do you fail
I
in
like
this
that. Let's
environment?
go straight there.
How do you fail in this environment? So yeah, the idea is to create a budget for failures, such failures.
Budget.
So,
Okay.
so we need to create that budget for these test environments, and it's our responsibility as GBS leaders to create this platform, this sandbox where people can play and get their technology pushed forward. So I agree of the fast failure, failing fast, and all these things. That was very nice when I was doing my MBA as well. But on the reality, when I look at ArcelorMittal, it's completely different, and you have to create that.
I think it just shows different organizations and how they differently approach it.
Yeah.
The last part, as you look at digital disruption and the changes that pretty much come with it, and the question, you want to start on the other side, Sebastian, how do you drive change, right? And very, very different types of organization. What is your view on change management?
Yeah, I think change management, when you look to overall project, this is always one bullet is change management. And when it comes to budget, say, okay, we get rid of that one. And I think that's a failure. So I think we should consider change always as an essential part of project, of driving transformation. That is nothing what you can add or not add, or you buy or not buy. We need to encourage our people to really drive on every triangle the change. So when we, for example, this RPA case, what we rolled out, the change was there because we were able to go out of the silos of GBS. Because for me, in the Kärcher world, it is a silo of GBS, even it's not accounting or purchasing, it's GBS, it's IT, it's the business units. And if we would be changing successfully, we need everybody on board. So for me, that's a kind of fluent network in the future. If we roll out project, it is more that we have selected several areas, and that team, it is not a GBS team, it's an IT team. That's a team of RPA champions in our case. And the RPA champions, they have to rock the show. And they are also responsible in that role to say, I'm the multiplier. I drive change in logistics, even in strategy, because I'm the RPA champion, I'm part of the network. And this powerful network, I think this is more the future organization.
I like that fluid network concept. Interesting. Priyambhu, change. 280 subsidiaries?
I think very clearly the expectation from all these companies, all these managements, is that GBS should drive the change. And I tend to agree with Sebastian that it's not only change to be driven by GBS. It has to be in all the functions. When we are doing a project, there has to be an agreement that in the committee, when we are creating a committee, it has to be in the business change manager, defined already, having a right governance, in IT, in GBS, then only we can do the change.
Slow.
I think we are top of the time, but yes, I think at the end, it starts with the mindset, it starts with setting the goals, make sure we understand why we need to explain to the organization why we are doing it. The why is very important, and then over communicate and allow. I mean, we hear the budget thing, but you don't need to spend 1 million to fail. You can also spend 10K to fail or 5,000 to fail. And I think we need to work on this as more, feasible small project to enable this kind of bottoms up success and create that engagement on the operational level, and that's the power. I think this is fundamental, in my opinion, and role modeling as a leadership, and that combination is the critical factors to driving that evolutions.
Thanks, Flo. Patrick, any closing?
No, I think that making change part of the culture of the company, like we make continuous improvement part of the culture of the company, is very key, and I think that GBS definitely play a key role in this. Because we are so much permanently facing disruption. We need to be part to have this part of our culture.
Thank you. It's always wonderful to see, GBS across different organizations and the challenges that they face, right? And to look at this in the context of keywords like vision, right? What is the capability requirement? How do you look at objectives? And I like the word, completely fluid way of creating that whole model, right? I think it's thank you, thanks for the panel. Obviously, with that experience, I hope that wish you all the best as each one of you go through that journey.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.